Cool. Well, welcome to the first episode of JDAW. We've got. I'll introduce myself first and go that way. I'm Callum. I'm an ENFJ, and I'm excited to get into some dream analysis tonight.
All right, I'll go. Okay, Lev, you can go next.
Yeah. Well, I figure if I'm another initiator.
Yeah, I'm the finisher type. Let's go. Let's
yeah,
do
you're the
this.
finisher. You should be last. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm Lev. I'm an ESTJ. I've been actually recording my dreams for the past year or so, and even before then I was recording it, but then I accidentally deleted all my dreams, and then I had to restart. But a lot of them actually kept repeating, so I'm interested to find out what all my dreams could mean and what's in store for the future with what they all mean. So
All right, I'm Jay, and also the JDA stands for Jungian Dream Analysis. For anyone who was wondering. But yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and the J stands for all of us end with a J in our typology.
True.
BTI.
No P types allowed. That is
Exactly. Maybe next episode.
We'll make
Sorry, Jay. Go ahead.
No, that's pretty much it though. So like, whose dream are we starting with?
I've got a couple. Lev, I don't know if you've got a couple.
Callum, you can start. I'm gonna pull mine up to see what I have. Just to have a look. Oh, why
All
not?
right, we can do the one that I chatted about, or like that I just threw up in the chat earlier, the lesbians in New York dream. we can do that. We can start off on a very weird tone here. That's what I'm thinking.
Why not?
All right, cool. So I wrote it down, like I kind of write in my own sort of way, and then the way I do it is I just kind of like read it out. So yeah, here it is. I titled it "An INFP and NYC at a three-way lesbian wedding." Basically, so here it goes. Basically, I was in NYC hanging around this random INFP dude. It was really chill, and we were having a solid time. Then I asked him how old he was, and he said 52, and I was like, WTF? I legitimately thought he was in his early 30s. Then he told me he was doing AmeriCorps, and it's funny because he reminded me of a guy I did the Peace Corps with that I like, who I hung out with in Rhode Island last summer. This kid named Andrew Morano. When he told me he was in AmeriCorps, I immediately thought of I thought of my brother-in-law who has taken jobs like that before in the past, and like my INFP friend who had did AmeriCorps. So it was just weird seeing a guy who had who was in his 50s doing a job meant for somebody in their 20s. Then through some ad I saw there was a three-way wedding with a lesbian couple that I thought I was just checking out, and then all of a sudden I kind of ended up finding myself in the dream where it was them two close together getting married, and then kind of me a little bit apart by myself, also getting married to them, like kind of auxiliary, like placing myself into what they were doing. So they turned to me and they were like, Are you in for this? And I paused for a second and looked over at my INFP friend and then told them, no, I don't really want to do this. And at first I was afraid of their response, that they would get angry, but they were like, cool, I'm glad you kind of told me in advance so we didn't go through with this. To which I totally agreed, and then it was like they read my mind, and then that's kind of where the dream ended. In a really weird situation. So yeah, a lot to unpack there.
So let me see if I got it all. You met an INFP who is like 54 years old, doing a job that you once were doing, and then it eventually led to finding a bunch of lesbians, or a pair of lesbians, who wanted to marry you, but you would be basically third wheeling in that relationship.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
All right, so the first question I'll ask is, have you been questioning your sexuality?
No, I have not been questioning my sexuality.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. I don't know what that.
A gay couple if that came out.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. Maybe you might be a lesbian. I don't know.
Maybe I am.
maybe in another like dimension potentially,
Yeah.
or parallel timeline or something like that.
Parallel universe. I'm a lesbian. You
Yeah.
know.
And it's not even just like anything changed, it's just the labels. That's it.
Yeah,
Could be that way
exactly.
How'd you know this person was an INFP though?
It just. I think I said that. I was thinking that to myself. I was like, oh, here's.
Oh,
that.
you're thinking that to yourself. Yeah.
You know, like here he is. Oh, he's cool. What's up? And that. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, I think I remember having dreams where I dreamt about, because I've just been so into union typology and all, how much I cared about like having a golden pair, and I've had dreams where I was like, oh, this girl's an ISTP. It's like my golden pair, like we'd be perfect together and all that. Although, like, to be fair, I'll give, like, if you guys know who David Dobrik is.
Yep.
Yeah, so Corinna was the girl in the dream. Although I wasn't like crushing on her, you know, I'm just saying. But she's an ISTP, and I thought, you know, okay. At first, I didn't think much of her. I thought she was kind of like, well, I'm not gonna say it. It's a bit.
Oh, Corinna, like cop?
Yeah. So she ain't bad, but I think I had a dream with her where like I was in a movie theater with her and I wasn't gonna sit beside her. Then I decided to sit beside her, and then we actually ended up going out together. So yeah, I think maybe that has.
That's crazy.
I think just the fact that, you know, we think about typology so much, we end up like having that come back to us in our dreams, and having us, I guess, in our dreams we want to have like answers or questions answered in our dreams, or stuff fulfilled, or challenges to be conquered in our dreams that we maybe can't figure out right now in the real world, but in our dreams we're able to like come up with a scenario that is similar to what our real world is like, and then have the answers there. Which I don't know how exactly the lesbian couple answers a question that you might have had, but
we'll get to that in a second. But
it's like your brain's passive way of solving problems. Like, you know how you have two different modes. Yeah. One's focus, one's not. I mean, even like Albert Einstein, I think he like came up with the solution to the problem he was working on for 20, 30 years when he was just relaxing, doing something else.
He was working at a patent office, I think, just like filing papers.
Yeah. Yep.
All this crazy stuff.
But yeah, if we start with the guy, the INFP guy, you have your golden pair. He's 50 years old. I don't know if that's close to a midlife crisis age.
I think it's probably past that. You normally have a midlife in your 40s or late 30s.
Okay.
In your early 50s, you kind of just like know who you are. It's like, if you want to switch careers, you kind of have to do it now, because no one's going to hire a career switching 60-year-old, you know. Like, so you're pretty solidified in society, not just yourself, but like you're supplanted. You are like where you are, kind of in that sense. I think that's what that age is kind of telling me.
Maybe. And then when you met that person, did you interact with them, and what did you think of them, like all that? Like, do you remember that?
It was pretty positive. It's like, oh, this guy's a cool guy. Like, what's going on, man? Like, we were just like bumping around NYC. It kind of felt like the dream kind of felt very movement orientated in some sense. Like, we were just like, yeah, what's going on? You know, and New York City's this big city with like, you know, lights and distractions. And it was kind of like very urban-esque, where there was a lot of like stone and darker like tones to the dream, but like not like it was dark, but like, you know, like you could tell that you're in a city with bricks and stones like everywhere, with the buildings that went up high, like you'd see in New York City or like Brooklyn, you know, for example. So it definitely had a very urban feel to it, for sure. I think that's important, kind of noting the setting.
How old do you think he was before he told you that he was 54?
Early 30s. I thought he was like, you know, this 30-year-old guy that was really cool, but it turns out he was like way older. He's like, yeah, I'm like 54, dude. I was like, whoa.
Maybe that's what you want to look like, or at least like present yourself as.
I think so too. Like, and it's funny because he reminded me from one of my friends in the Peace Corps who like was one of like the older volunteers there, and he was kind of like he was like 33, like doing the Peace Corps, and like he was like young at heart. He was kind of like very Peter Pan in that sense, and he was like he's an awesome guy. But he kind of reminded me of that as this like young soul, old body, type personality. Which is really interesting, that I got along with that. And, maybe to your point, Jay, it's like I kind of see myself in him a little bit. That's kind of what I'm
yeah, and also if like he's an INFP doing construction, I would assume. I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't know if that's subconscious focus or shadow focus.
Or if he was in AmeriCorps.
He was just in it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he just did AmeriCorps. It wasn't like anything specific.
Maybe that's a premonition. It could be a premonition. Maybe you might meet someone like that. There's someone similar.
Yeah, like a old body, young soul type. Maybe Peter Pan, That could be it, It's like the area I'm in right now is like Neverland. There's so many
Or maybe you want someone like that in your life.
Yeah, I got along with him in the dream. I'm like, yo, what's up, dude? Or I already know somebody like that. That reminds me
Yep.
of familiar. And I'm just not like connecting the pieces together. So I have to think to myself, it's like, all right, does this person already exist? And if not, do I need to go find this type of person?
Right. I was actually more going along the lines, I'm actually thinking right now more along the lines of, now that you had that experience with that guy, do you still want to have a guy like that in your life? Like, does that dream fulfill that need, or do you feel like you still, part of you still lingering to still have that, or longing to still have that?
I think it's probably the latter. I think it's probably still longing, because in my dream, like right before I was about to like get tricked into a lesbian 3-way marriage, I looked over to him to like see what to do, right?
Oh,
I was like, here,
interesting.
So he's like some sort of guidance, Could it be real or spiritual, which was really interesting, And so I could also, I'll make this point like that I thought about when it could also be my representation of what I view my own INFP shadow is, right? Like I'm having a good relationship with myself, and that could potentially be it.
Yeah.
Ooh, that goes pretty deep, right? Because if you think about it, when it comes to like developing the 4 sides of the mind, usually it goes like your ego first, followed then by your subconscious, and then your shadow.
Yeah.
And although like we were saying, like midlife crisis comes about like late 30s to early to late 40s, like that 54-year-old INFP would technically then have been a developed version of like your shadow.
Yeah. And I'm looking towards him for advice,
Yeah.
Do in certain situations, right? Like, dude, what do I like, I'm ending up in a weird, twisted situation that I don't understand, because I thought I was just going to observe the lesbian wedding. I didn't realize I was going to get into it. I was like, what the hell is going on? It's like trickery, was around me, and I had to turn to this guy for, it's like the SC to SI thing, right? It's just like a token. Like I just look at him and like, oh, I know what to do, right? I know, like that's what happens in relationships like that. So I don't know. That's what I think it is, but it's also interesting bringing in that perspective of that. I saw another type of guy. It's like I think it's like I need to find some sort of Peter Pan spirit almost, like like I said, the old body, young soul type, right? In order to kind of engage with myself and feel okay to feel a little bit more childlike and playful, less serious.
Sounds like it's not that you're looking for a guy like that outside of you. It's more like you're looking at inside of you. Yeah. Like you're trying to find that within yourself.
Yeah, I just wonder what the 2 lesbians mean symbolically.
Yeah, let's get to that. That's the weird thing. We might have to fucking Google this, at this point.
2 lesbians.
I think it was like one of you said like third wheel, and I think it was a third wheel situation that I felt maybe it was because what is a marriage? It's a social obligation. It's a contract, right? So it's like I was like getting tricked into some sort of social contract or obligation that I didn't want to do. I didn't really understand what was going on. You know, that seems to be what it was more than anything else. And it was I think it was in Brooklyn that I experienced this. And Brooklyn's a very progressive, like pro LGBTQ area too, which is really interesting that my mind kind of thought of that as well. So I think it's possibly also like a boundary thing, you know, because like after I looked to the INFP dude, I was like, yo, I don't like want a part of this marriage. And they're like, oh, cool, I totally respect that, you know, like understandable, you know. It's like, wait, what?
Wait, so how did like I don't understand. So I don't know if I missed this, but did they just like tell you like, hey, you're getting married with us, or were you just standing on the altar like magically, like?
It was like they were together in front of me, and I was like right here, you know, next to them. And
Okay.
it was like from my perspective, excuse me, it felt like they were just getting married. But what was really going on is I was a part of that marriage, in a three-way marriage. And I was like, I don't want to like do
but
this.
You didn't know.
But I didn't know, I started to realize what was going on, and like I started to feel a little bit more uncomfortable. And I was like looking around, like trying to look at social cues, you know, trying to figure out like what the hell was really going on, because I didn't know at first, but then I started to realize.
Yeah, I just wonder why it wasn't a woman, just like one woman, or like a man, or one person. Like, why was it two? And then specifically also lesbians.
Yeah, two women marrying each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you're definitely getting nothing out of that relationship, and they're getting way more out of it. So
Yeah.
I can't figure out. Jay, you got something?
Is there anything like that?
On Google for
yeah,
this.
you might have to Google it. But is there anything like? I'm just trying to think of anything dual natured, or like something like symbolically dual.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Oh man, I've got a bad cough.
I mean, if we're just considering all four sides of the mind, they could just be as ISTP subconscious and ESTP superego, but that just seems like a stretch.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that as much.
Yeah.
What does it mean, lesbian wedding in the dream?
I think we gotta break that down.
Well, hold on. You got your side of the mind with the ENFJ side. You got the INFP there. I'm just kind of wondering if Jay might be onto something with, like, let's say it's the subconscious, your ISTP side, and then your super ego ESTJ side. But I really don't think so, because like,
yeah, because they didn't do anything else. Like, I wish they didn't give any other indicators.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm just kind of like trying to put a square peg in a round hole, and it's not. That won't work that way.
Not going well. Oh, let's just look up, like, I guess, lesbian. And it says C, homosexual, but it also says feminine power, getting in touch with one's feminine side. Possible fear.
Feminine primary social order.
Yeah, that could be it. You know, maybe it's that actually it could be me trying to get out of like social contract or construction of female primal agency and kind of just do my own thing with my INFP side. You know, it's like I'm gonna do what I want kind of thing, and like just, you know, set a good boundary. It's like, no, I'm not gonna participate in this.
Yeah, somehow when you looked at that man, like it helped you. Well, I don't know if it helped to use like maybe your any critic, because usually that's what you go to your shadow for, right? It's for your critic function.
Yeah, or it could be FI nemesis, like, you know, setting my principles. It's like, I'm not gonna like tolerate this because of how I feel type situation. But the any critic's a good point too, right? It's like I don't like like kind of like using wisdom to kind of stay away from the situation, maybe, you know.
Yeah, it's like an orbit, right? So you didn't really know what you were getting yourself roped into. You didn't know the consequences of what would happen. So when you looked at that man, you're like, okay, I know what I want. Like, then
Right.
orbit, axis, like all that. SE child, NI parent, NE critic.
Something like that for sure. Let's see here.
Like you, maybe if you look up lesbian, I don't know what it said for lesbians. I think you already looked it up.
I'm doing that.
And then if you look up wedding, we could like combine it together.
Yeah, exactly. Like break them up. Let's see. Okay. I'm back on my favorite auntie flow. This is just for bisexuality.
While you're looking at that, I'm gonna go through the list of dreams I had to see if I have anything to
You do.
come up with.
I gotta take a break and get a glass of water.
Yeah, no worries.
Alright, while he does that, I'll look for
Yes.
um
And I'm looking through all these dreams. I don't remember any of these dreams whatsoever. These are kind of ridiculous dreams I've been having.
Well, there's also dream themes too. All right, I don't think this is it, but this is interesting. A threesome dream with a straight partner and a bisexual partner represents an ability to stand your ground and attain your aims in life.
interesting.
Okay.
So, like, have you been walked over recently, or I don't think you have.
Could be. I think it'd go probably back to boundaries, if anything, and like not knowing how I feel about, and like just like giving more to situations and other people's wills, right?
Yeah. Are there like any two entities? They don't even have to be people per se. Like, are there two entities that are like conjoined together in some way, or are like coming together in some way, or like you might have had to commit or not commit to them, but like you wouldn't have benefited from that situation? Like, because the thing is, it might not have to be people.
Yeah, it could be something. The lesbians represent something larger, or three-way marriage. Something that I haven't felt as committed to. Could be my old job, kind of like going away from that, because I definitely struggled with boundaries there. Could be something that because that's very any critic, right? I think what you're getting at, Jay, kind of keeping or not knowing the intentions of others or being critical towards it. I don't know. I don't. Nothing's really coming to mind with that.
Yeah, it's
Well,
hard.
if it's not in the past, it could be something in the future that maybe you foresee could be happening soon.
Yep.
Like feeling less committed to some sort of hobby, passion, or even like my career.
Well, that or something you could be foreseeing something like I don't know what you could be fearing potentially.
Right.
Where you have to, where a group is like agreed upon something, but you don't want to be part of that. Although you feel bad that you have to say no, you're just not getting anything out of it. Maybe it could be some like practice in your dreams that you're practicing saying no to things that like just doesn't benefit you. Could be.
That sounds pretty like accurate. I feel like this is a little bit more premonition.
Mm-hmm.
Think about. Sorry, go ahead, Jake.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's also important to know how they reacted to you saying no, right? Because it seems like you were expecting something else. Like, it seems like you're expecting like them to like get mad or something, but they ended up just being okay with it. So I don't know. Maybe you're afraid of someone or something like.
Negative social consequences, I think, would probably be it.
Yep.
The like afraid of making other like afraid of asserting myself to the point where it makes people and then afraid of that consequence of a negative social reaction.
Right, but maybe your INFP shadow is like there to tell you like there's also the possibility of a positive consequence too. Like it doesn't have to be negative.
Yeah, and I think this happens in my waking life. When I interact with some people that might be a little bit more passive aggressive or you know more negative towards me, I'd say. And like, I definitely fear the negative social consequences of saying something to that said person, right? I think this is what my dream is trying to tell me. It's like, tap into your shadow, like, which will help you set better boundaries because you'll have better principles and kind of just know what you stand for and what you don't. And like, it's okay to say no, like in certain social obligations and social situations, right? And the INFP is an affiliative side of my mind too, right? So like that's gonna know what the proper, it'll have like good social affiliative like knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I think Lev's onto something, definitely right, with it being more of a premonition thing, or like these are challenges that I'm gonna have to face where I get blindsided, by social contracts that like I'm just gonna have to say no to.
Yeah, and this one seems kind of like a baby step, where it's like it's kind of obvious that it's like, no, I'm not getting anything out of it, so I'm gonna say no. And I think maybe it's leading you to then, so that next time that something like this happens, where it's like it's not as obvious of a no, but you still feel that gut feeling to say no, you're better off the next time, because it's like, well, I already did this once. It's kind of like SI users have that reference experience, right?
Yeah.
That they can always just refer back to, like, hey, if I did this once before, I can do it again. That's kind of like what you might be having with this dream with the INFP beside you, which will have that SI reference experience.
Yeah.
And this dream, although, and like and just rejecting the two lesbians, that is. So.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
I hope so, but anything possible.
Yeah, a premonition's likely, because I think maybe I don't know if it's an NJ thing, but deja. I know in my life also there's a lot of deja vu that happens, and it's never exact. It never happens the way, but it's like a snapshot. Like there's always one part of a dream that I had that ends up happening in real life.
That happens to me too. Probably might happen with you a little bit more than me, but I definitely get that. I'm like, whoa, I had a deja vu moment. Probably had half a dozen in the last 9 months, I would say.
Yeah.
Just deja vu moments. That's kind of where my threshold's been, of just random things that I've dreamt about or thought about or imagined that then happen in waking life, which is so weird.
Do you guys get that when you aren't sleeping as well? Because that used to happen to me when I was doing shift work for a little bit. And I felt like I was just having deja vu so often. Like I only got like 4 hours of sleep at nights, and I was just like really groggy, and it was awful. I hated that job.
Yeah, but maybe. I don't think I've gotten one in a while, and for the past couple of years I've been sleeping pretty normally. I think like at least 7 hours a night. So.
Oh, that's good.
I'll keep that in mind, though. When I have a bad night of sleep, to see if I have more deja vu moments. There's propensity for that. That's an interesting one. Cool. All right. Well, I feel good about my dream. Got to listen to my INFP shadow. Social situation.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah. I think thinking about typology a lot has like this is the second one this has happened where I've been like, oh, that's my INFP friend over there, which is really interesting.
All right, Lev. Gotta go to your dreams.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly point out that your INFP, you know how it's like FI would be your nemesis. In this case, it was more like your ally. So,
yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's awesome.
So that's some positivity right there.
Dude, I need lesbians in my dream now.
Well, maybe.
Hopefully, it has to come out in any ally way. I don't know what that would look like, but
yeah, that's definitely one thing that I've been always thinking about when it comes to dreams. It's like, how do you tie this in when it comes to when it comes to dreams, it's usually related to your gateway functions, right? Like, so
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
what we've discovered here.
yeah, so it's like for me and Callum, our gateways are the FI and TI, right? Either to our subconscious or our unconscious. For you, Jay, it'd be the SE or NE side. I don't know if I've ever. I think there are times when you do have a gateway to your super ego side, but I don't. I haven't had a dream like that in a long time to be able to tell.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, right? Because we always associate shadow with mellowness or depression or relaxation. Well, not relax, but you get drunk, you get kind of tired. Sleep, like that's the same feeling with sleep too. It makes sense why you transition into your unconscious because you're relaxing, you're getting ready to sleep. Like it's not your subconscious where you're happy or excited or stimulated. That's what the subconscious is associated with. It's the opposite of that. So it makes sense if you transition to your shadow.
Yeah. I wonder if it's got something to do with your like cognitive focus. If you're more focused on one side, do your dreams try and compensate that by going into the other? I am inclined to say it doesn't matter, but it kind of would also make sense if it did do that. So
We'll find out more as we do more and more of these. Be like, oh shit, you had a an ESTP subconscious dream there or something. Kind of figure that out a little bit more and more. Remember, we also are in Western society, so there's a propensity for it to be probably more shadow focused. True. Not necessarily that people, who are subconscious focused in present day Western society can't dream about their subconscious, but I think there's more of that correlation probably with your unconscious, if I had to guess.
Yep.
By default. Cool.
Yeah, I'm reading some of the dreams that I wrote down. Some of them are kind of a bit too, shall we say, dirty.
I have those too.
He tried to shake Victor's hand. He gave me a dirty look as I reached to shake his hand. No, that's not. But you know what I'm saying. That was a dream, though. But that's what I wrote down. But yeah, it's so weird. I have all the like recurring dreams where I dream about like I'm back in high school and I've like skipped the entire year and then I just realized I have an exam and the exam is handed to me and I have no idea what to write down. I'm just like, and then the school teacher was like, well, you skipped the entire year. And I'm like, I wouldn't have skipped the entire year. What the hell? I kind of have this feeling that I always live in, there's a part of me that lives in regret that I didn't go 100% full effort into school. But like my grades were always pretty top notch, like straight A students sometimes, but it wasn't like A plus. I always have that like regret with school and all, right? But that's in high school. That's in high school. University is kind of a different story. I never go back to like thinking about university, even though I was like a B student, right? But like I think there was like something about wanting to get like A pluses or something like that, and I knew I could do it if I just put in the effort and I wasn't so lazy and just going on the internet all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just always have those kind of dreams. But I also sometimes have dreams not lately, but like I have had dreams where I'm just like not performing well at work or something like that. Oh, but that's usually like when I'm like about to go to sleep and I think about work too much and then I start dreaming about work. So yeah. Oh, you know what? I think I have a dream, like not necessarily a dream, but like just this set of dreams where I was talking to you guys about this beforehand, where I have dreams about people that normally like if like I were to meet them, everything's cool, like it'd be we'd have a decent chat and all that, but I don't really care to like reach out to them or anything like that. But for some reason they just keep showing up in my dreams. I have no idea why. I theorized beforehand with you guys that it could be like my brain trying to think like, oh, well, how are they doing, right? You should reach out to them maybe. And just like to have that like part of my brain just to be like, all right, that's good. Now you can move on to things. But I don't know. I don't know what that could mean. I was wondering what you guys think.
I just looked up. It's funny that you mentioned an old friend with like thinking about work, right, in relation to that, because according to this website, right, an old friend, to see an old friend in a dream, especially if this is one from childhood, shows that you were overwhelmed or overworked in your waking life. It's really interesting, especially since you're T hero and you want to perform and like gain status, right? So
Yeah.
like, and it's things from your past too, right? High school, old friends that you don't talk with. And I think you're right. I don't think it has anything to do with wanting to reach out to them. I think it's more what they represent in your life, right? And it's the past from what I'm seeing, right? It's like you're in high school, you have some regret from not like doing something correctly or like not giving it 100%, like you said, and then your old friends like are like, come back to the past, like you're overworked. It was easier back in, but maybe it wasn't easier back in high school because, that you feel like there's something still left on the table, right? I don't think it has to be like you it's not literal. It's not like you're going to pull a Billy Madison and go back to high school and like redo it all, right? But I think it's something. It's got to be, my gut's telling me it's got to be something from your past that you need to like go back and like revisit, like get some sort of credential or get some sort of like knowledge base that you can pull from that will then like help you go more forward in life. Interesting that it seems to be a TETI orbit, from what I'm seeing, which we talked about in the group chat. But it's something that you're trying to get from your past in order to probably move forward, if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
Jay,
also seems like the SC critic is involved here too, especially when it comes to performing, like in general. You said recently you've thought about work a lot. Is that what you said?
No, not necessarily, but like I'm more specifically meant to say that when I think about work a lot right before I go to sleep, that's when I have dreams where I'm just like I'm struggling with like spreadsheets and all that, and I'm just like, why can't I find the answer? So
yeah.
But that's just like I realize that's like I really shouldn't be thinking about anything before going to sleep, and sleep time should be just for whatever problems I don't know I'm having, right? Let my unconscious figure that out.
And then
right?
like when you see with those dreams with like your old friends and stuff, like what happens in them?
Oh, good question. I don't recall. I'd have to look through them again. But it's interesting. I was gonna bring up the fact that it centers around, generally speaking, two people usually. My childhood friend Victor, who like we're okay friends, but like we're not like as close as we once were. But like we just always hung out either at school or after school because our parents worked at the same place, and the credit union was like right beside the school that we went to together. So like we always like, spent a lot of time together. We did a lot of like miscreant stuff, shall we say. It really shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff, but that's fine. And then we just kind of like we went together all the way through high school and all. But yeah, I like we're kind of like different people now, and I think we've just like I don't know. He's a way bigger cloud chaser than I am when it comes to status and all. So I don't know. Maybe it was a good thing that we kind of drifted apart because I think he was kind of getting annoying, and there's just like some things about him that like just we don't gel as well as we used to. But he always just keeps trying to reach out to me whenever we do meet in person, which is kind of weird. But like you can just always give me a call, right, or text me, whatever. And the other one is like my cousin Larissa, and we were as well, same thing, childhood friends, all the time. Whenever like we were to go to each other's houses or whatever, like it wouldn't be anybody else's. Like I wouldn't be like really close with any of the other cousins or her siblings or whatever. It's just be us and all. She's an ESFP, and I think that Victor is like an either ESTJ or ENTJ, one of the two. Definitely just like really cares a lot about his status. But we still had like we had a good time either way. I can try and look up like what the dreams were, but there's a part of me I think is like a little bit worried about them, because there's like everybody has their own, demons that they all have to face. But like with them, I guess maybe something about them being part of my childhood makes me kind of concerned about them a little bit more. But I'm gonna quickly look up, see how many dreams of Victor have I had. So one.
Yeah, because I don't want to start connecting like your dreams about high school and performing in general with your friends if nothing was like intertwined with that. So.
But it's interesting that what you talked about your old friend Victor, that you guys used to do some miscreant stuff, right?
Yeah.
You guys used to like rebel together or like misbehave, and like to me that may indicate that when you're in childhood or high school, like things don't matter as much, right? You're more innocent, you're more playful, maybe a little less so in high school than when you're in grade school, right? But like then there's that like childlike joy still, right? And so it's like maybe like you want to like kind of go back and go against the structure, because the school is a very structured thing, right? It's very hierarchical, right? And so you might want to kind of go back against that system a little bit with what your friend Victor represents, which is like kind of misbehavior. Like maybe you have another dream where like the same thing, right, but a different outcome with the school performance dream, and then all of a sudden it's a year's gone by, you don't know any of the answers to the exam, and then maybe you say something to that teacher, right? It's like, no, I'm not going to take this exam. Like, I don't want to do this.
That's how. Just sorry to interrupt, but that's usually how my dreams now end. Now that I like realize that it's reoccurring, where it's just like, wait, I'm dreaming. No. I'm not taking this exam. I don't have to go back to school. I already went through school, and then it's just like it ends. It's just like
that's very positive, right? Because I think that's something you like. You're not missing anything.
Whoa, that's cool. That could be like, even with the whole rebellious thing, right? Like that's pragmatic ISTP strato, but then in a way, you're looking back at your past at school, right? And then towards the end of the dream, you're telling yourself it's not real, but you're still in your dream, which is also
lucid.
Well, that's the thing though, is I've heard that if you know that you're dreaming, you can take more control of the dream.
Yeah.
Right? So it wasn't, I don't know if it was my ISTP side J that thought of it. It was more of like when I was like in the real world thinking about it, it's just like I don't want to have these dreams anymore because they actually scare me still. Like just imagine going into an exam and you know nothing about like physics or whatever. And I never took physics, but the last one I had was about physics, and I'm just like, I don't need to go into physics class. Like I'm an accountant basically. I'm like a financial clerk. Like, so nothing, I don't need to take this stuff. So like I basically kind of prepare myself beforehand to say like, no, I'm not doing this. This is another reoccurring dream. I'm gonna like end it there when it comes to that dream and that exam, which would be like, honestly, I think maybe a part of, now that I thought about this, like right now, maybe a part of me just wants to like have a moment where if I'm given something that is like mandatory, that I could just say, screw it, I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? Where everybody else is doing it, like an exam or whatever, and I'm the one that says, no, I'm not doing this. This is stupid.
That sounds very ISTP.
Yeah, it does, because then you're also at the same time like saying, it's not real. Like that's really important because you're basically like cutting through the bullshit and you're saying, "Hey, this isn't real." Like even if I put all this work into this, or like I don't know, SI effort, like you're achieving something that's not. I know Chase talks about this too in his developing ESTJ video, where SE critic like needs to be used to actually figure out like are your achievements, like do they actually mean something? Are they real?
Yeah.
As opposed to like an arbitrary exam in high school. You
Yeah.
know, we don't even use half the information we used in high school, you know?
Yeah, interesting. Like, I think oh wow. I think the dreams that I have had when it comes to school and the exams that I had were physics and history and math, but I always looked at like history as like, well, I mean, like, I'm never going to use this, so why am I taking this? Right? Like, I'm not discrediting anybody who's a history major, okay? Like, it's not, but it's just like, for me personally, it's just like, if I wanted to learn it, I could do it myself. I don't need school to teach me. And then when it comes to physics, it's like, well, I never cared to really study physics, so why would I bother? But I think the earlier dreams, whenever I was in when I was in university, they were more reoccurring than when I was when after university, when I was finished school. So that's kind of like a positive, that like, hey, I'm done uni. I don't have to like worry so much about school. Kind of feel accomplished enough when it comes to it, but there's still a little bit of regrets here and there. But I'm not too worried about them. But back then, it was more like, oh, this is grade 11 math, and you need to like be good at this exam, or else like, you know, this is the end of the world for you. And I'm just like, oh crap.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But it's interesting that like we tied it all into like how my shadow, the ISTP side, would actually fit in with that. That's like, see how that's just incredible.
That's crazy. Yeah, I really do think even in real day, like we're awake, like we're living life. The shadow isn't as transparent as we or Chase, at least Chase, or how we interpret it as. Like, you know, like when we're talking about like, oh yeah, shadow, like INFJs, like FI critic, it makes them feel like this and that, but it's like really like down there. Like even the person might not know.
Yeah.
Because yeah, to your point, like, or the point I'll make, it's like, I think an ISTP is like interest based and pragmatic. They're just going to need to know what they need to know to get the job done.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and it's exactly what your dream's telling you. Like maybe you don't need all these credentials and all these like A's and like great achievements. Like maybe you just need to be a bit more practical and like hands on with what you need to do to like to do accounting or whatever it is that you want to achieve. Actual real achievements to your SC critic, like Jason.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because they're also direct and they just want to get to the point. They don't need any fluff, right? And they prefer like history being not an elective but a required course. That's fluff to me, right? Same with physics in a way, right? Whereas like personally, if like, granted, again, like it's cool that I took it, but I don't remember anything from those classes, right? But if I had more time to spend on things that I would actually be doing in the real world, where it's like, let's say it's more math or computer science, or it'd be great if they taught us database stuff, because supposedly ESTJs are good at that, or economics or whatever, right? Then I would be like, all right, just get to the point. And yeah, like maybe there was just a part of me that's like trying to say like, hey, you could have skipped all this and it wouldn't have made a difference if you failed or passed on that exam. Man, that would have been sweet. Thinking about it now, like universities don't really care about your grade 10 history grade, right? They just
No.
And it's like, all right, if I failed that exam, okay, maybe I wouldn't have gotten onto honor roll, but it's just like, who cares? Like nobody looks at grade 10 honor. Well, I guess like employers do, but still, you know what I'm saying.
And I'm going to interject because I got a really good point. And it's interesting what you're saying with like things that you actually wish you learned, right? Like database management and things like that. So maybe like kind of turning this into a slightly premonition dream. It's like maybe I should just go like learn and like achieve in the real and practical like things that I like think I want to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like now maybe it's about like instead of like, oh no, I failed my 10th grade physics class or 11th grade physics class, maybe it's now like, all right, I'm gonna go and like learn database management and like maybe get a master's in accounting or something like that. That's actually going to be real and practical, and you're going to use, right? Like an IST using his tools, right, or his knowledge, to do things, right? That seems to be what it's like. Trying to turn this into kind of forward facing. That kind of seems to be like what it could definitely be, right?
Yep.
Well, I have to say that I think a part of me already kind of does that, right? When it comes to, let's say, it's typology or intergender dynamics and all that kind of stuff, crypto, right? So, yeah, like that definitely, you see, I mean, granted, I know that for me as an ESTJ, ESTJs need direction, right? They need somebody that gives them that NI.
Right.
So, but at the same time, I think that a lot of NI people and influencers have, although Chase is not an NI user, he still has NI Nemesis, so that's kind of close to NI Child, gives that direction, and then I just like I'm able to focus in on those things a little bit more, and I find it to be cool. And then it just like I can like learn it all. Like philosophers are able to learn just like everything about it, and just like be that academic about it. So yeah, as opposed to like learning history or learning physics and all that. So
yeah, on a side note, I hate the way history's tested. Like,
oh yeah,
dude, it's so dumb. It's like, oh, if the American Revolution didn't happen, how would that affect the corn supply or something like that? Like, it's just
it's like, dude, what? Oh my god, yeah, it's so true, man, so true. Well, that's pretty cool from your dream standpoint, Lev.
Well, I'm glad that we talked about it and we figured some things out about like how, like I'm looking into the past and all. But that kind of makes me wonder. At like talking about like past and performance and all that. That sounds like I'm not really using the gateways if I'm an ESTJ. That sounds more of like an ISTJ kind of thing. Am I an ISTJ? Maybe, I don't know.
I just think the gateways are. I always think the parent functions are the thing you really I think the gateways are just a way to use that secondary function. Because like even Chase says, oh, TI parent ends up becoming more accurate over time rather than TI hero, or versus like any parent is better at like predicting an accurate future compared to like any hero. Yeah, I always think of it like I've always thought of it like the hero is just a way to accomplish what the parent is set out to do. So
yeah, that's a good way. Especially, if you're more mature and developed in your parent function too, it's probably gonna influence the hero more so, right?
And also it being a pessimistic function too, right? So
yeah.
If it's a dream you're having and it's troubling you, it's probably something that needs to be developed. So rather than like already focusing on your developed optimistic functions, so.
Makes sense. All right, Jay, your turn.
Dude, the only dream I had was the one I had a couple days ago, and that one was like just smack in the face, bro. That was just like, yep, straight up.
I want to hear it.
Where was it? Yeah, let me just read it off. Okay, wait. All right, yeah, here it is. So I had a dream where I was like in a Teams meeting like this, or like a Zoom meeting with Chase. And the first thing I remember was like, he was talking to me like, oh, I need to like schedule my life better and stuff. And like, that just makes sense because recently I've had some trouble with managing my time with the internships I had. And I'm also doing summer school too. But then sometimes I feel bad for not putting in more time in other things or prioritizing. than I could have in other places, which is sounds like FX critic.
Yeah.
Also, in that dream, I watched a video where he said INFJs end up becoming lonely because they never reach out to people. Part of the dream, my family was trying to take away my freedom, and they said that for some reason they were saying that by law I had to follow what they were saying, just like in general, like follow their culture, or until I'm 21, or I had to go to jail for disobeying them. And then
oh my gosh.
And then I said I'd rather go to jail, like because I thought to myself in the dream, I thought I would rather be in jail because I would feel more free in jail. Like even though I'm in jail, like I'd rather be there than be with like here with you guys following what you're saying. But then also for some reason I started imagining what it would be like if I came out of jail like 3 years later, because in my dream I was like 18. So 3 years later I was like, wow, like did my crypto go up, or like how is the world different?
Oh shit, I'm a millionaire. Fuck.
Yeah.
Chase also talked about little kids. Okay, this is the weird part. This is like analogous to Callum's lesbians, because like we didn't really get to this and what it means symbolically. But Chase was talking about little kids liking small things, just like because like everything for kids it's like smaller version, like kid size like candy or whatever, and selling them like small candy bags and stuff. So I don't know why, but I immediately thought of these chicken taquitos that I make, that they're really small but I make in real life. But yeah, that's pretty much, and that was like all. They weren't two separate dreams. I was like switching in between. So the thing with my family and the thing with Chase, I was like going back and forth. That was that.
Yeah, it could be like mirroring, like obviously INFJ mirroring, like with Chase, you're kind of, I guess, mirroring to like his needs, right? And then, but it seems like it's interesting because you seem very forthright with your family in that dream, right? Like you're you're going forward, and I'd be surprised if you weren't a type 1 enneagram,
Yeah,
like
I am. I am type 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it makes perfect sense, right? I'm gonna like instill integrity into society, kind of thing. And I think that's kind of what your parents are like, because it's not just your parents. It's like what they represent in terms of like your own, I guess, mini society, for lack of a better term, where they're implementing rules and like they're telling you have to go to jail, and there's structure, there's consequences, right? And you're like, no, I'm not gonna do that, I'm the type 1. I'm going to reform against this and rebel,
right.
Type thing. And then it almost it just feels like you're going like flip flopping with your FI critic almost, and then you're like you feeling bad, and maybe the children kind of represent chaos, right? Because they're all around, and you don't necessarily know how you feel around them, and could be any nemesis too. Like they're kind of all over the place a little bit, and that kind of makes you feel maybe a little bit more paranoid. I don't know. I'm kind of spitballing here.
That makes sense. I mean, to add a little bit more context with the family thing, recently, the past couple of years, I've had to forcefully distance myself from them. By forcefully, I mean like in a way that has disappointed them so much, but I needed to, because like I couldn't. Otherwise, I would be giving up my freedom, and I can't. Like I really can't do that. Yeah. And just not just that, but like knowing what Chase has taught me, which is probably why Chase is in this stream. So is it's freeing in another way, because I realize that the things that my family believes, and even when I've tried to discuss it with them too, they never have anything that makes sense to me. Like they can never explain it in a way that makes sense to me. It's always because that's how they've lived life, or that's just what they've known, what they've learned, and I don't like blame them either, because circumstantially, like they were in India. If they like tried to go against the status quo, like even like back then 50, 60 years ago, you would get beaten and maybe even killed. Like it was crazy back then. So I don't blame them, but for me, it's sort of what I think is like, okay, so if they're not listening to me now, I feel like I just have to get away from them and show them what my set of beliefs, or like where my set of beliefs can take me. And maybe hopefully like then they'll actually be open and more receptive to changing the way they live. That's real life context for why I'm dreaming about this.
Sounds like a self-respect thing too. Like you want to go on your own path, so you respect yourself more, maybe.
Yep. Yep. But you're right, Callum, about the thing where you're saying it's FI Critic enforcing the standards, finding like what's personally important to me, but at the same time, as I'm doing that, I feel bad at the same time.
Yeah. It's such our INFJ problem.
And it's so weird because in real life, I don't think that I'm feeling bad. It's just something that's like down, which is why I mentioned like the shadow is something that this is so in the backside of your mind that you don't really think about it. Mm-hmm. Let's see what else. Yeah, the whole jail thing. I know Callum brought up like Jesus and Kurt Cobain. How Jesus went to jail or whatever. I'm not really familiar with Christian lore.
Yeah, I mean, well, look at Gandhi, right? Like he was.
Oh right.
Yeah, he. I don't know.
Another INFJ as well.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true though, but I think he's an INFJ. I read his autobiography.
Anyway, I mean, he was an enemy of the British state, right? Like he definitely opposed their interests, like regardless. So he was public enemy number one in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I don't know what I probably was just thinking about crypto because crypto.
Your TI child wants to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have like an analysis of the dream, but I can say that I also have had those moments where I'm kind of rebelling against like what my parents think, because it's like, for as much as they think they rebel against the system, shall we say, like they're so ingrained in it that they don't realize how much it has affected their way of thinking. So every time that I try and bring up something, and I'm just like, I can't, like, as for maybe I need somebody to critique my own kind of thinking, but when it's backed by so many different people, you know, and the thinking is just so clear to you that but they still don't get it because they're just so ingrained in that, it can be so frustrating. I know exactly like how you feel, but I guess for you, on the other hand, it's for you to have freedom. For me, it's like, so for you, that's the NI hero. For me, it's TE hero. It's just like, I want you guys to think properly, because I don't want to be thinking, I want to be feeling, right? FI inferior. And when it comes to me thinking, I get a little bit paranoid because it's just like, okay, am I right or am I wrong? I'm not sure half the time, right?
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. But I don't ever experience that necessarily in a dream. So it's interesting that came about for you. So.
Yeah, also the part where Chase also recommended, like, yeah, INFJs should reach out. They end up becoming lonely because they don't reach out to people. And he's never actually said that like in his real videos, but that's what I was hearing when he was talking to me over like the meeting. And that just has to do with like me. I've been cutting people out of my social circle, and by cutting, my way of cutting out is just me not reaching out to them. Mm-hmm. So over time, I've gotten more lonely because of that. But I honestly am happier now than I was before. So I could say for sure, like I even ended it off saying like I'm really happy and satisfied with where I am right now. I just think a part of me feels bad for the people who I feel like I'm leaving behind on.
Yeah, it's a tough thing, right? Like you want to help everybody, but you can, because you got to go on your own path. But you know, it's like classic self-development stuff where it's like, as you grow, like, you know, your friends will just change because they'll kind of reflect your values and where you are in life, right? Like
something might happen in their life too.
Something might happen in their life. They might get back on track, you know? Yes. I mean, that's, again, like I said, it's healthy door slam. I mean, it's like you reach out to them on your own terms after a while, you know, see if they've changed, right? Don't just completely shut them out, but just know for now, you know?
Yeah, that's why, like, there could have been a worse way to do it, which is like, call them up, be like, all right, we're done. Like, it could have been like that, but I'm going the softer way because I don't want to burn bridges that I don't need to.
Yeah. You're doing the SI approach of ghosting people.
Yeah.
Basically.
SI demon ghosting.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, the people who I'm distancing, they're coming back and they're reaching out again. And they're talking about like, yeah, like I'm super unhappy with my life and like this and that. But then the thing they always like, because people, some of my old childhood friends, they like know me for being a little bit too harsh. So when I give them advice, so when they come and reach out to me, they're always like, yeah, man, like I've been unhappy and stuff, like, and then they always towards the end, they always complain about saying like, yeah, but like, how can you ever help me, like, if you're not even a part of my life now, bro? Like,
wow,
I'm not like that's not my problem, because there's a reason I don't want to be around you. Like, that's something you have to figure out. So
yeah, I use the analogy of like taking Old Yeller out back. It's like you don't want to do it, but it's necessary. You gotta like put it out of its misery so you can kind of feel better, you know?
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy. And then there's also people saying like, oh, you can be a little bit more like subtle with your approach, like maybe not be as harsh. But I've also found that when you do that, when you make people feel okay with the advice you're giving, it doesn't create enough of an impact for them to do anything about it. It never does.
Yeah, like I normally go all in on my door slams. I'm like, I'm calling you out on this, I'm calling you out on that, I'm calling you out on that, you know. And like I just go like, because it's even worse with me with any critic. It's like, you know, at that point. So it's just like I just like, but I feel so much better after I do that. And then, you know, when you hold people's feet to the fire, they start to show their true colors, right?
Yep.
You know, they're like you kind of confirm your suspicions, right? It's like, oh wow, this person was really fake and insincere, like after all, you know. And I think again, it comes down to a boundary thing, Jay. You know, that's what I'm saying. We're so giving, you know. My
girlfriend, actually, she's an ENFP. She gave a good plant analogy, because she does a lot of things with plants and she takes care of a lot of plants. So I talked to her about all this stuff, and she's like, yeah, you got to think about it like we're all plants, right? Like, if you're like around people, around other plants who aren't good for you, and you're trying to help them, let's say like you're a plant, you're trying to share water with your roots or something, but then all they do is they just suck it out, like eventually you're just gonna end up like them, which is like great, integrity versus corruption, all that. But like to separate from them and spend my time on people who are more receptive to change in the first place. So for example, like one plant might just be missing sunlight, while another might be missing everything. Like they don't have fertile soil, so that way like you have to prioritize, right? Like what can you give at the moment, and who should you be giving it to? So that's like really important.
Bird.
Yeah, that's my dream.
Sunlight, an analogy to the truth, or the flaming sword of truth, or so. Nah. But I was, man, like I can relate so much to you, Jay, right now. Like you saying that you're cutting people out of your life, man. I have cut so many people out of my life in the past few years that it's just like, I do feel lonely, but it's more so like you're longing to. It sounds like you're still longing to be back with like those people. For me, it's I could be wrong when I'm saying that, but I'm more of like, man, I wish I had like
new people,
more friends. Right? Yeah, new people.
I would say for me it's both. Like if the people before like change or whatever, that's great. But like at the same time, new people would be great too. Like whichever comes first, because you got to make space. Like it doesn't just come automatically. Because if you don't cut people off, you're gonna keep spending time with them, and if you keep spending time with them, you're not making space for other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I'm wondering. Sorry, Callum, were you gonna say something? Or?
No.
Oh, okay. I only say that because I know you're an SE user, and like I'd rather I be interrupted and you guys be interrupted. But because I'll remember what I'm going to say, which was that. Oh wait, maybe I just forgot what I was going to say. No, I'm joking. But yeah, and then you were saying before about how the advice that you gave, if it was just said a different way, then it would be taken, better according to them. But then they wouldn't listen.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I feel the exact same way, but I have it in a different way where it's like, I don't know if you're surrounded with TIFE users, but I'm surrounded with FITE users more. Or did I say both? Are you?
No, you switch them. I know what you're saying. You're surrounded by people with the same judging functions as.
Yeah, exactly.
Philosophers, right?
Yeah, basically. And so every single time that I deliver anything, it's just like, what do I get? I get like TE labels
That's
about like how I'm
interesting.
cold-hearted, and just like,
Yeah.
I recently got I'm too calculated and not emotional enough. But it's just like, look, I may not have FE demon, but in the long run, I care more about how you feel in the long run than in the moment. Like in the moment, I know it hurts. Okay. And maybe I'm saying things because it's just like, okay, I understand the truth. I can take on the hard truths, and maybe I'm just like projecting that you should be able to take on the truths like I am. But at the same time, it's like, look, eventually the truth will get out, and it'll be too little too late for you to like learn this, right?
Yep.
Whether it be like intergender dynamics or whatever it is, like
Yep.
politics or whatever, I don't care. It's like, it's better to know it now, feel the pain now, and know what to do from it. But it's just like, no, you don't like the delivery. It's just like, wow.
Yeah, that's so.
Okay.
It's always. I don't know if it's the same in your experience, but it's always, most of the time, it's always FPs. Always who say they also say the same thing to me too, Lev. They're like, why are you being so negative? Why are you being so cold? Why are you being so like cold-hearted?
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, get out of here.
I get it with like my mom's an ESTJ, my dad's an INTJ. My dad doesn't necessarily call me cold. Well, yeah. When it's something about, like, let's say it's about politics, and it's like something about like money related, then they can easily just throw in like, you only care about the money. You don't care about like people's feelings and all.
Dude,
this kind
and
of
that's
stuff.
the worst for me and you, especially because FI and Fear and FI Critic, someone calling us cold-hearted, that really fucks us up. Like,
yeah, I mean, there are times where it's just like, all right, I can take it, whatever. I'm cold-hearted. It is what it is. Like, but eventually it does get to me where it's just like, shit. Like, I have no, like, lately I have no friends. Am I that cold-hearted to people that like I've just pissed them all off? It's just like, I kind of get. Yeah, sorry, Colin. It sounds like you're gonna say something.
No, but I mean, it's part of growth, right? Like, you're gonna have to like, do the hard things that you don't want to do in order for, like what Jay said, make more space for people in your life that you actually do want to spend time with. And it's I guess probably one of the worst parts about the process is all of a sudden you're alone. You're like, oh fuck, like who's really my tribe? Who's really my social group? Like, and then you also have to question, you're like, who was I really friends with in the first place, right? Like,
yeah.
all these thoughts come to your head that you like didn't want to have to experience, but it's a necessary part of the process, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to the point where like you're being harsh with your friends or family. There's also another part you have to consider where, even with what we believe in, like in the men's group, we are a minority, like a very small minority. So finding people who, if they disagree with us on some things, sure, that's fine. But most people like will disagree with us fundamentally, and it's like hard to like get people on that train of thought, especially with the way society's conditioned. The majority of people you're going to interact with are going to be people who you won't want to spend time with, which is just the reality of this.
Yeah, it's not like everybody's on the same page, Maybe in the past people used to be more on the same page than they are now. You can make that argument, right? But for whatever reason, we're more divided, or at least feels that way.
Yeah, I'd rather be actually alone than be around people who would make me feel like I'm alone.
Robin Williams right there.
Yeah.
But
A lot of
yeah.
people have said that quote. I know I'm not the first one.
It sounded like the Kurt Cobain quote. It's like,
Yeah.
I'd rather be where I am than loved for who I'm not. You know, I love that quote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I keep thinking back to like when Chase had a Confessions of an ENTP video where he's like talking about how, you know, TIE parents are a bunch of outcasts, and it's just like, bro, like I feel like an outcast half the time. It's just like I can't seem to connect with a lot of people because just the things that I'm into, I don't know. Yeah, they're out there and they're definitely contrarian to what the the ethics of the world is today, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Eventually, there are going to be people that, you know, you'll find. I mean, we have the men's group. We have us, right? Us three, right?
Yep.
That are talking right now about it. You do want to, like, it sucks that like we're in different time zones and areas and all, but yeah, like you do definitely want to have like that physical feeling, like, hey, like if you know, if something were to happen, like they're in close proximity and everybody's got each other's back, right? So yeah, it's tough, but what to do?
No wonder, dude. Like people saying like, "Oh, Chase, you're so harsh." Chase, like, I understand. Like sometimes it's also like you're not even like it's not even what you're saying that's harsh. Sometimes you get so fed up with everything. It's just so annoying. Like it's just so hard to control yourself. Like I totally understand why Chase like goes off sometimes the way he does.
Oh yeah, like he's even told me about like like his TE critic goes off at just how stupid some people can be, and frankly I don't blame him. Like
honestly,
I'm like, look, the way I see it is that, and maybe it's not the best quote to always use, but like if there's one thing I know is that I don't know anything, right? Is that I know nothing, Socrates, right? And that's I try and like that's like an incredible piece of wisdom, to just like try to explain to people that think that they're always right, that Dunning-Kruger syndrome, where the smart feel that they're dumb and the dumb think that they're smart. Man, it's just like, just take that approach, man.
Yeah.
Like, you might not be right. That's okay to not be right, right? If you're wrong, you should, and you're then corrected, you should be happy that you're corrected, right?
Yeah.
But some people, like, they're just so ingrained in their own biases and belief system that they just can't let go. And
yeah,
I guess like, I don't know, maybe you guys as FE users are better attuned to figuring out that, like, yeah, this person values like their beliefs and all that. Maybe there's still something warranted to those beliefs, but like for me, it's just like once it's clear as day, it's just like you have to let go of what's not true. Otherwise, it will lead to death.
mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Death,
you gotta
decay.
you gotta kill what's not true, and it's frustrating as someone who's like a TE hero. If we all can't be on the same page, then it's just like there's not going to be progress.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, to get back to what you were saying. I know you asked me about like who like the people I've been around, like type wise. For me, it hasn't really been with TIFE. That's a problem. It's just actually the people I've had the most problem with are SINE users. My when it comes to my family and my friends, it's the people who are stuck in their comfort zone. Because my NJ friends, like, they're doing great. They're because they just go out and do things. Like they're actively trying to make their life better.
I mean, it's so funny because like I have a group of friends from back home, and half are Wayfarers, like NTJs, maybe an SFP, and the other half are Crusaders. And it's like the Crusaders haven't even started the race yet, while the
exactly.
like wayfarers are like going through obstacles and figuring out. They don't have everything figured out, of course, but they're at least running the race, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, it's just like, I'm sitting here as like a Templar who's not very status driven, you know? It was like, and I feel like I'm like running a completely different race than them, you know? And I'm just like, or maybe I'm in the stands just like observing like what's going on, because I'm just doing my triple interest based stuff, like whatever the hell I want to do, you know? And it's just like, there's not a lot of systematic thinking to what I do. I just like kind of just throw some things together.
I feel that.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's so weird for me. And you know, as I progressed throughout my 20s, I've seen kind of the split between those two quadras of friends, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
I love NTJs though. They're so cool.
I love NTJs too. I've had some really good friendships with NTJs.
Yeah.
It's really funny how that's worked.
I have it a bit split where it's like ENTJs, aside from one, like I love them. I really do like ENTJs a lot, but the INTJs I find just like very paranoid and think that I'm like gonna attack them. Whereas like I have an trickster. I have no idea what I want, so don't assume that I want anything from you. If anything, all I want is just like, hey, a good time, peaceful time, and for you to accept the truth when I tell you the truth. But you know, it's a bit too much to ask for some people. But I hope I meet better INTJs. Like Christian in the men's group is a great INTJ, and who's the other INTJ I'm thinking of in the men's group?
Portland?
Chase's friend.
Cortland, yeah.
Portland. Yeah. Jeez.
In Arlington, Washington, or something.
Say what?
Yeah. He lives somewhere in Washington.
Oh yeah. But yeah, going back to what you guys were saying though about like SINE users, yeah, Chase has said, I think the biggest complaint he has heard from NJs is the fact that NPs to some extent are sometimes, it could be the fact that NJs enable the NPs, but a lot of times it's the NPs being very lazy and very much in their own comfort zone and in their dopamine fix that just like it drives the NJs nuts.
Yeah, and it's especially the way society is right now. Like, I can force them to do things, but then everyone's gonna be like, "No, you just gotta let people do what they want," you know? Like, I'm like, okay. With SJs, it's not that bad. Especially with STJs, it's not that bad with STJs. SFJs, it's a little worse. Just because like they have no achievement drive, but STJs, they're like iffy because sometimes they're really interesting STJs, and then sometimes they're just STJs who are like you have nothing like interesting to offer. Why are you just going to school, then like being a history teacher, and then like, okay, that's fine. Like, sure, you want to be a history teacher, that's great, but then like, why is it that when I talk to you, and I'm referring to someone specific here, that's why I'm getting so specific. Why is it that every time I interact with you, it seems like you haven't changed at all? That's not a good thing. Like, that's really not a good thing to see, because if there hasn't been any change that I could see, like, I mean, it might be any inferior thing too, because they're really bad at expressing their SI depth. But yeah, it's just hard because if you're not growing, then you're basically decaying. Like, there is no such thing in life as like staying the same. Because like, if you were to compare yourself to like any point of like reference, you're either growing or you're not. Like, you're decaying. There is no I'm at where I'm at.
Yep, 100%.
It's nature too, right?
Yeah,
You know?
It is nature.
Just gonna say we've been really roasting history and history majors and all.
Dude, there's a lot of merit to being a history major. Like,
no, for sure.
Yeah.
The thing with history is it's not taught very interestingly. Like, no one teaches it like, oh, like this happened, like, and this is what the future is gonna look like because of like what that, like, no one teaches it like that.
Yeah, and it's very by the book. Yeah, it's not gonna have an impact, and it's not gonna leave a dent in the universe because like somebody else has already taught it.
Yeah. It's already happened.
Yeah. What a shame.
Well, what do you guys think? Should we wrap this up here?
Yeah, this was a good first episode or whatever
Yeah.
it is, podcast, live
I
stream.
was quite impressed how we managed to keep things flowing and all, and like interesting topics about like our dreams and all what they all mean. So
Yep.
I'm gonna be thinking about it. I'm gonna look through all my dreams and see what I could come up with next time.
Yeah, hopefully more
Dude,
people join us next time.
Yeah, exactly. We can get other people coming on. You know, maybe get some other people from the men's group, just other people in general, and see what happens. Jay? Are you still recording?
Yeah, but I can edit this part out.
Hold on. No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Let's tell the audience to like, favorite, comment, subscribe.
Yes.
Jay,
Of course.
Hit the like button.
Yeah.
I'll also link my separate YouTube channel down below, so check that out.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
I'll link my YouTube channel. Hit the bell notification. Make sure that you guys are ready for when the next live stream happens. We'll bring on some guys like, I think we have an ENTP that's in our dream group. We have an INFP. It's kind of interesting the sides of the mind or the personalities that we all have, how that'll all work. So we got here we have ENFJ and Callum, and INFJ and Jay, ESTJ and myself, and then technically speaking, we have Callum and I. We have if we bring in Ethan, we have an INFP, which will fill the third. Like
TP too.
Yeah, we need to get an ISTP exactly.
You can have
And
that.
Jay needs to get. Yeah, Jay needs to get an ESTP and an ISTJ and
basically everyone.
ESTP. Yeah.
We can have some very affiliated quadras going on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Different, not quadras, but weird different quadras.
I was wondering if potentially just having all four sides of the mind is better at answering your questions than someone that's outside of the mind. But we'll figure that out as
Probably.
We're exploring here as we go along. You know, like we're figuring it out. It's just like we're almost like just testing theories now. It's like, are dreams just nemesis functions, or like why does that keep popping up? And it seems like
shadow pattern.
Shadow pattern, right? Does anybody have any subconscious focus dreams?
Yeah, we need to get. Oh well, I know this is a men's group thing, but maybe a woman's perspective would also be insightful.
For sure.
I mean, yeah, we can branch out and do our own thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We're like a branch out of the men's group.
Yep.
No question. We'll have guests. We'll invite some people on, and then we'll see what they have to think and believe about what they have to say about our dreams, and then what we have to say about their dreams, and we'll just keep collecting data and have this keep going on until we figure out what do all these dreams mean.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think
I'm glad that
this channel.
Exactly. I'm glad that whoever listened all the way through is going to be part of this journey, and that hopefully will help you find answers to your questions. Yeah, that's one thing we could ask the audience is like, hey, if you guys got a dream, drop it down in the comments below, and we can analyze it for you guys. So
that's a good idea.
You can be part of this adventure with us. So this will be fun.
Good.
All right, you guys heard the man. Drop a comment right now.
Hit the like button, get it in those algorithms, and we can get this to more and more people.
All right.
Exactly.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Take
Have
care.
a good one, everyone.
All right.